Step into the story of how humanity transformed the world, one era at a time. 10,000 years after the first seeds were planted, humanity had built cities, temples, and empires, but history never stands still. Around 500 CE, the ancient world began to fade, and a new chapter opened, the medieval age. This is the story of how faith, fire, and invention slowly carried us into the modern world. After Rome fell, Europe seemed fragmented, castles rose, villages clustered behind walls, and faith became the anchor of life. Churches and mosques guided kings and peasants alike, promising order in uncertain times. But outside Europe, civilizations thrived, from China's Tang dynasty to India's Gupta heritage, and the great Islamic caliphates that spread knowledge, trade, and art across continents. Religion was not just a matter of personal belief, it was an instrument of immense power. In 1095, a call to arms echoed across Europe, launching the First Crusade. For centuries, waves of crusaders marched towards the Holy Lands, while many were driven by fervent faith, promised forgiveness for their sins. Others saw opportunity. For landless knights, it was a chance at a fiefdom. For merchants, a path to new markets. For kings, a way to unite factious nobles against a common enemy. These armies marched not only for faith, but also for the strategic control of trade and land connecting East and West. The great maritime republics, like Venice and Genoa, grew fabulously wealthy by financing expeditions and transporting armies, securing exclusive trading posts. The conflict was as much about dominating the lucrative spice and silk routes as it was about controlling holy sites. Faith provided the justification, but geopolitics and economics drew the maps and paid for the swords. Yet, while conflict raged, a different kind of conquest was taking place, a conquest of the mind. In the great cities of the Islamic world, from Baghdad to Cordoba, a golden age of science and philosophy flourished. Scholars in the legendary House of Wisdom didn't just preserve the ancient knowledge of the Greeks, they interrogated it and built upon it. Al-Khwarizmi pioneered algebra, giving us a new language to describe the universe. Ibn Sina's Canon of Medicine became the standard medical textbook for centuries. Even in Europe, they charted the stars with unparalleled accuracy and developed optics, creating a vibrant intellectual culture. And back in the quiet cloisters of Europe, a different, more patient battle was being waged. In monasteries scattered across the continent, monks hunched over desks in candlelit scriptoriums. With painstaking dedication, they copied manuscripts, one precious letter at a time. They were the guardians of a flickering flame. While much of the classical wisdom of Greece and Rome had been lost after the fall of the Western Empire, these scribes ensured that fragments of that ancient knowledge, philosophy, history, and science would not be extinguished forever, waiting for the day they could once again illuminate the world. Far from the castles of Europe, great empires flourished. In West Africa, cold kingdoms like Mali thrived. In Asia, the Mongols carved out vast territories, brutal in war, but opening the Silk Road wider than ever. Ideas, spices, gunpowder, paper, they traveled across deserts and seas, connecting cultures in ways unseen before. By the 14th century, winds of change blew. The Renaissance lit up Europe. Artists painted human faces with new realism. Architects raised domes that touched the sky. And scholars, inspired by Greek and Arabic texts, began asking dangerous questions. What if the earth was not the center of the universe? Curiosity was waking. The world, once a patchwork of isolated regions, was about to be stitched together by wind and ambition. In Europe, severed trade routes made spices more valuable than gold. This necessity, plus a thirst for glory, ignited a new era. Then came the sails. Portuguese mariners charted the African coast, before Christopher Columbus, seeking a westward route to Asia, stumbled upon the Americas. Vasco da Gama rounded Africa to reach India, opening a direct sea lane to the east. Finally, Ferdinand Magellan's expedition achieved the first circumnavigation of the globe, proving our world was one interconnected sphere. But decades before Columbus, a different maritime power had mastered the seas. From China, Admiral Zheng He commanded the treasure fleet, an armada of a scale the world wouldn't see again for centuries. His largest ships dwarfed European caravels. Between 1405 and 1433, he led 7 epic expeditions, reaching as far as Africa. His mission wasn't conquest, but diplomacy and trade, projecting the might of the Ming dynasty. His voyages showed that oceans were not barriers, but highways connecting humanity. The meeting of these worlds triggered an unprecedented global exchange. From the Americas came potatoes and corn, revolutionizing old world diets. But the exchange also brought tragedy. Europeans carried invisible killers, diseases like smallpox and measles, to which indigenous peoples had no immunity. The plague swept through the Americas, shattering civilizations like the Aztec and Inca empires. It was one of the greatest demographic catastrophes in history, a somber cost of this new global connection. The devastation of indigenous populations created a labor vacuum in the New World's mines and plantations. To fill it, European powers created the transatlantic slave trade. Over centuries, more than 12 million Africans were captured and chained in the suffocating holds of ships. Torn from their homes, They endured the horrific brutality of the Middle Passage, where millions perished. This trade in human lives generated immense wealth for empires, but inflicted a wound on humanity that has scarred generations. And so, the map was not just redrawn, it was reimagined. The age of exploration created the first global network of trade, culture, and power. It laid the foundations for vast colonial empires and set in motion the forces of globalization. It was an age of breathtaking courage and discovery, but also of unparalleled cruelty. It proved that humanity shared a single planet, a lesson we are still learning to navigate. Telescopes pointed upward. Galileo sketched the moons of Jupiter. Newton revealed the laws of motion and gravity. The scientific revolution taught humanity that nature could be explained not only by faith, but by experiment, mathematics, and reason. This was a new language of truth. In salons and coffee houses, philosophers whispered bold ideas: liberty, equality, the rights of man. Hobbes and Locke questioned kings. Voltaire challenged the church. Rousseau dreamed of democracy. Not all were free. Women and slaves were excluded. But sparks of revolution ignited in America, France, and beyond. Then, steam roared. The Industrial Revolution began. Factories rose where fields once stood. Coal and iron-fueled machines that wove cloth, built railways, and powered cities. Millions left farms for factories. Life grew faster, louder, harsher, but also more connected. Humanity had entered the machine age. But progress had shadows: child labor, crowded cities, deep inequality. Empires stretched across the globe, often exploiting the very lands they conquered. Yet, alongside struggle came hope. Vaccines, printing presses, public schools, and movements for justice. The world was being reshaped, painfully but powerfully. And so, the great transformation unfolded. The world once defined by the cathedral spire and the feudal manor began to give way to one dominated by the factory smokestack and the bustling metropolis. This was a shift not just of scenery, but of the human mind. The journey began with the rediscovery of ancient knowledge during the Renaissance, accelerated by the printing press, which took learning from the hands of the few and delivered it to the many. This flow of information fueled new ideas. The authority of faith was challenged by the Reformation, then scrutinized by the Enlightenment, which championed reason and individual rights. This intellectual revolution paved the way for a technological one. The spirit of inquiry that questioned kings was the same spirit that tinkered with gears and steam. By 1800, humanity had crossed a threshold, stepping into a new and radically different era. Upon the bedrock of this journey, the foundations of our modern world were laid. The fragmented patchwork of medieval fiefdoms coalesced into something new. The nation-state, centralized governments, unified by language and culture, replaced the personal allegiances of the past. Simultaneously, the scientific revolution taught humanity to look at the cosmos not with superstition, but with observation. Figures like Copernicus and Newton revealed a universe governed by predictable universal laws, giving us the scientific method, our most powerful tool for understanding reality. This new thinking, combined with new technology, ignited the Industrial Revolution. For the first time, human power was replaced by the tireless engine, leading to mass production, the growth of cities, and the creation of immense new wealth and new social classes. And from these foundations, the modern age would rise. It was an age of breathtaking promise, built on a belief in unending progress. It promised democratic governance and technological wonders that could conquer disease and distance. But this new world also contained the seeds of new challenges. The same industrial might that built cities could forge devastating weapons. The same nationalism that united peoples could also drive them into catastrophic wars. The pursuit of progress would create unforeseen consequences for our planet. These are the dualities we inherited. The wonders and the warnings, the triumphs and the troubles of the modern age are the very ones that continue to shape our lives and define our challenges to this very day. This was medieval to modern, from faith to factories. Join us next time as the world transforms again into the modern age of nations, empires, and revolutions. This is Factonic Facts. Stay curious.